everybody. It's Stephanie with the Learning Project Network. Listen, I'm back again with another podcast, and I'm so excited. Listen, I keep saying listen because I need you to listen. I need you to focus in. I need you to grab that cup of cocoa, cup of coffee. I've got green tea this morning, whatever you need. But let me tell you, this morning, I have a very special guest. This person has been in our community doing amazing things. And you know how I do. I want to get to know people on a raw, organic kind of setting. And, you know, our podcasts are very much coffee shop feel. Who is this person? What are they doing? And why should you know them? That's basically what we do here at the Learning Project. We are learning about ourselves, our community, and most importantly, who in the world is making change. So let's talk about purpose. I want to welcome Lindsey Shaw to the place, y'all. I'm so excited. Listen, so the first time I met her, she was turned, like I didn't see her face. I just saw the back of her head and it was purple. And I was like, her hair is absolutely evenly dyed. And that looks really good because not everybody can rock this color, but it was so beautiful. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to her. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I know you are super busy. And you know why she's busy, y'all? Because she is running for city council. Okay. We want all the tea about how this experience has been. What have you learned? Why are you so passionate about our community? We're going to be asking all the good questions. And so I've been kind of stalking you on Facebook a little bit, listening and hearing all the different conversations. And so I'll be bringing some of those things right here to this podcast to talk today. So welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be here and spend time with you.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about who you are and what got you here. Like, why did you start running for city council?
When we see our city, I grew up here, doesn't really, I mean, it matters, but when I see our city getting bought and paid for by special interests and when I see our community being left behind, I feel like somebody has to get involved. And I keep thinking about what will our city look like 20 years from now? I was on the Boundary Readjustment Committee with the school district when they built the 3 new junior high schools. And they talked a lot about the South Hill and different parts of our city. But in District 1, we've been historically redlined and it's still in the process. So through that process, they decided to put Holmes Elementary, Garfield, Logan, and Stevens all in one junior high school, creating the lowest income middle school in the state.
Whoa.
And they put it in our neighborhood. It's a beautiful school. I'm like, okay, if we're going to build this school, how can we build in supports also?
Yep.
And I really tried to fight the school board to try to have them relook at the situation and maybe ask some harder questions. But I think that was kind of the turning point for me. I had been working at the community center with Amber Waldriff around the zone, learning about.
You're good.
Just learning about why has our district been so low income for so long?
Right.
And you know, Kaiser Aluminum was there. Before that, the railroad was there. And so there were great jobs that didn't require an education, and they have left. They've come and gone, and maybe they've done damage as they've left. And so it's just kind of been a generational process. Learning that our families are stressed. So the stress that I was feeling as I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, y'all.
Yes. And that's a lot.
It is.
I'm so impressed by you because you're doing an amazing, you're showing up as a real woman. Like I was a mom, like hidden away in a house. And I really feel like I love the work that you do because you're saying moms need to be moms.
Yeah.
You know, community is so important. And really like, that's why I'm running for city council is how do we build community? How do we make sure that our community is not getting left behind?
Wow.
And I've had people tell me, haven't you read The Cool Millions? by Jess Walters.
Mm.
No one's cared about that area for 100 years. Why would they start now? And I'm like, oh,
Wow.
okay, challenge accepted. I have to try.
Yeah.
Because regardless of how much we keep our kids separated from the rich and the poor or whatever,
yeah,
they're all going to be in the same society.
Yep.
20 years from now, and they're going to have to know how to work together. Or when we think that police are it seems like certain people think that police are the answer to everything.
Yep.
I grew up with domestic violence in my home. I know that police officers can be very helpful.
Preach.
They've helped me over and over.
Yes.
I'm not anti. I am very much, I know that they can save lives.
Yeah. When they get the right supports. And I totally agree with you. Like, they save lives, they can help support, they can be there to partner with you. But when they're not doing the right thing, just like with any other industry, when they're not doing the right thing, that's where change and reform needs to happen.
Yes, yes. And so, like, I even imagine what would my life look like if those police officers came with a mental health advocate, with resources around domestic violence or whatever it was that my family was facing.
Yes.
And if we were to change things now, I mean, it's like 30 plus years ago.
Yeah.
We're doing the same things, and we still have the highest rate of domestic violence in this city. So,
and y'all, it is Domestic Violence Month, and I'm so glad that you're speaking about this. We have our nonprofit, The Shades of Motherhood, and we're actually doing an event called Doulas Against Domestic Violence. And this is really important for us to understand what domestic violence looks like. It looks like in so many different forms, in so many different ways. And I think that's where that mental health counselor really can be a huge key component to the solutions we need to see in this area, in this arena. Speaking of your life, who are you? Like, how did you get to Spokane? How did you get to here? I think that's really important for people to hear.
Well, I grew up here. I went to North Central, class of 99.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. And I moved away as soon as I could because I think Spokane has this, had this stigma around it. And so I just couldn't wait to move to the big city. Went to Seattle, went to art school for photography.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys are not looking at the podcast with the visual, I really feel bad for you because Lindsey came in looking amazing today. I could tell that. So finish. Go ahead.
So I'm creative, right? I'm a creative. And so long story, but I moved around, lived in Alaska, lived in Arizona, traveled around Europe by myself for a few months. And when I got back to Seattle, I didn't have an apartment and I didn't have my job anymore because I had been traveling. And my mom was like, can you come back to Spokane and help me open this cafe? She opened a place called the Olivet. It was on Crestline in Bridgeport.
Wow.
There's no building there anymore, but it was a place for poetry and for art.
What?
And she was ahead of her time. She had a vegetarian chili.
Shut up.
It rocked the neighborhood. Nobody understood that at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. So really, like, underneath all of me is my mom and just her tenacity to try to, to be a business owner. She also tried when I was younger to have a place called the Time Warp on Garland. And it had like 40s clothes for women. And
that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
She was the first female pole climber cable installer for Cox Cable back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
So she's just a strong woman. And so I think that I kind of come from that.
Yes.
Well, I do come from that.
Yes, you absolutely come from that.
So I came home and I'm like, Mom, you've lost your mind. Why are you opening a cafe in the middle of nowhere? And she's like, this community needs us. This community needs a place to gather, to celebrate each other, just to be around each other. And so she offered free popcorn, and it was a block away from Bemis Elementary. And so she would give kids popcorn before school, after school, if they needed a place.
I totally would have been one of those kids that would have been there. I love popcorn. It is literally my obsession.
She partnered with the Northeast Youth Center to do murals on the side of the building. And so she just really worked her tail off to make this beautiful place. In the meantime, I was riding my bicycle around because Seattle, you can't really ride your bike around as much.
Yeah.
So I just loved that I could ride my bicycle here. And I noticed there was garbage all along our Centennial Trail right next to our river and started doing cleanups. And so, I think my mom instilled in me in an early age that you don't walk over garbage, pick it up.
Can I just say how metaphorical that is? Okay. You don't walk over garbage, pick it up. Like that in itself. Yes.
So it's created a monster in me because I want to do it all.
Yeah.
And I started with cleanups. And, once I became a mom, my boys are 18 months apart.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so lucky.
That's so wonderful.
I feel so lucky that they have each other. I was the only child for 9 years. And so for them to have that siblinghood is really important. It was also a challenge because childcare is not affordable.
Oh my gosh.
You are blessed to have community around you.
Yes.
I don't know if I really had that as much. And so it was a bit of a struggle. But through the struggle, I fought really hard to buy a home. I just went with a dream. I was like, what if we had a multi-use path on Illinois? And Illinois is a big ruddy mess, and it's got a big, beautiful view of the whole city.
Yeah.
And last year, the city came through and did a grind and overlay and put a protected pathway in.
Wow.
And now we can see our neighbors walking their dog, pushing somebody in a wheelchair.
That is so cool.
It is the most amazing thing. So dream. Please dream, because dreams come true.
Yes.
I know it takes time. It doesn't happen instantly.
Yeah.
But it's okay to dream about better than.
Yes.
Better than what just exists or what's always just existed, and we'll just leave it that way because it's always existed that way. Like,
yes.
I believe in dreaming and, advocating. Our voices are so important. Moms, so many historically, I think moms haven't felt like they could advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
I've seen it in family. And so just learning how to be an advocate, having a fierce mother of my own, and just living off of that fierceness.
Yeah.
And knowing that just because this area has always looked this way doesn't mean it has to maintain this way. So I put
love it.
Artwork over graffiti along an intersection where the kids at Logan cross the street, cross Illinois to get to school. And it's like a rainbow instead of a tag on each corner. It just lifts it up just a little bit. It just lightens the mood there a little bit.
Yes. So really your experience has been this learning to make change, fight for change, create community. How do we create safety within community and stand up for what you believe in? Like that really resonates with me as you're talking about your story. And so you're here today. You're here at this point. Why are you running for city council? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Graffiti is a call to action for art.
Yes.
Mental health concerns in my neighborhood and in my community at the Northeast Community Center is a call to action. Learning about how well-intended top-down approaches to solving communities' issues fail every time.
Yeah.
Because we need to rise up our community voice for our own healing, right? That's what they taught me at the community center.
Yeah.
And I'm a strong believer in that. And I feel like we have to have true residents who really care, who are open to learning, being creative, to coming up with solutions that are for our community and not just for realtors or businesses.
Yes.
I love businesses.
We all love businesses. I love so many businesses.
Yes.
You're hitting a key point here.
Yes. But our community needs to feel safe and supported. And so one of the biggest concerns right now is traffic.
Yeah.
People are speeding and there's no accountability there.
Yeah.
We've lost our neighborhood resource officers. The last mayor used to do a program called Cleaning from the Corridor, where he'd come to a neighborhood and I think there was like a DJ and pizza and T-shirts, and you just clean up your neighborhood together. Yeah. And it just built this sense of community, ownership, yes, and buy-in.
Yes.
And that's been missing. I miss it I mean, I know the pandemic made all the fun stuff stop, but there's opportunities to reconnect, to rebuild, and to, not just work towards one mission of making sure the homeless are not seen, because I feel like a lot of our resources are going that direction.
Yes.
How do we actually wrap our arms around the people who are hurting the most?
Yeah.
And I know that not one solution fits all, but I believe that we can do so much better than re-traumatizing the traumatized.
You're talking about something really, I think, is important on this series of this podcast, which is, the purpose of our community. And what is the true purpose of our community? Is it to just look like we're well put together, or actually feel that support? When we first met up, we were talking about, how are you doing all this? And I talk about my support system. And I really know that this is not normal. My parents didn't even have this support system. So to be able to receive this amount of support in order to do the work that I love and I'm passionate about is really rare. But it's not, it doesn't have to be rare. It doesn't have to be something that is a luxury or a privilege. It's the redefining of what superpowers look like. Support is the new superpower. I keep saying this over and over and over. And we need to center that support gives people an opportunity to grow, to learn, to develop. But if there are not those spaces where they can access them and find trusted messengers that they connect with, then they do not get the opportunity to experience that and heal from that. So I hit something. So tell me what you're thinking.
Excuse me. Support's a foundation. How do you stand when you don't have anything to stand on?
Yes.
So how do you build when there's nothing to build on? When you have that's what I think the zone was built for, is how do we give this community something to stand on? Yeah. How do we recognize this is why you're in generational poverty? This is why this poverty situation's happened here.
Yeah.
How do we address your stressors, your mental health, and try to hold you so you can learn and grow?
Yes.
In that space is where I learned about circle of security. And I kind of got tricked into taking the class. It's like, just help. We had food from the women's and children's free restaurant, and I would heat it up and serve it to the family as well as participate in the class. It's about connection theory, right? And just how we're all born for connection.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that support, who are you connected to? And if your community could be a trusted space to be in, then it could be a game changer.
Really?
Really. And just learning how to, what is this feeling I'm feeling? Can I name it? That's, I think, one of my key jobs as a parent is to help my kids name their tough feelings.
Yes.
And sit with them in it instead of telling them not to.
Yeah.
Don't cry. Don't feel, don't be sad.
Yes.
It's okay. So, it's okay for our community to be hurting.
Yes.
But it's also okay to think about reimagining how that is.
Yep.
And how we can just show up better for each other. And so on our current city council from Northeast, I just feel like they're well intended for maybe the people they're working for or through their lens. I just feel like my lens comes from a place that's got family that's dealt with addiction and homelessness and DV and success also. I find that my work in the community with neighborhood work has been successful.
Yeah.
So that's an inspiration. And what could we do on a different level? How do we build in better community supports? And how do we bring that community lived experience to the decision table?
Okay. How you guys know I like to talk on my podcast and I like to make a lot of noise and just it feels so good to my soul what you're saying. And when we look at city council people, sometimes people can just feel like they are not understanding what people are going through. But you do a lot of community partnerships. You are out there in the community listening to the people And lived experience is extremely important to understand representation. If you do not show up to spaces and you are not connecting with people, you cannot really understand how to advocate for them. And you can't understand how to be that voice for them where at tables where they are not getting a spot. And so talk to me a little bit about why people should really think about voting for you, following you, partnering with you. You do a ton of different partnerships. Maybe it's not voting for you. Maybe it's like, you know what? I want to come out and do one of your events or come out and do one of your partnerships with you. Maybe it is, sitting down and learning more about your efforts and partnering with it. So like for you, when you're telling people why should they follow you and choose you and connect with you, what are some of those reasons?
Well, we don't have to move to live in, we don't have to move to live in a better neighborhood. And that once you, like if we were to do a meeting on my terms, one of us would be holding the bag, the other one would have the grabber, and we'd be doing cleanup together. And we'd just be talking. And I think that's a great way to have a meeting because it's super productive.
Yes.
And just doing that act of service gives you life and purpose. So that's how I've had many meetings. And I would do that with anybody. Please invite me. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yes. I would love our community to see the value of voting for somebody who's community minded into our council.
Which we need.
The more I learn about the person I'm running against, the more I realize that he's been doing this work a long time. He ran against Amber Waldriff for county commissioner last year. And I just feel like he's got an agenda that he's been also working on for a long time. And I think part of that agenda is bringing this realtor money in to our community to pay for politicians who are focused on, they say business. I'm not sure. If people are worried about building, they can build. Build in where we have the infrastructure. So if you have a vision of a healthy Spokane that is inclusive and learning always how we could do better, I'm your person. So, yes.
I love that answer. I think that there's so many times where we hear people talk about why they should vote for them. Like, I did this, and this, right? But you're really talking about us doing it together. You need to have somebody that's more on the us side. And I think as we journey together as a community, more and more people are talking about how do we break out of this I mindset and go into the we mindset. And it does take you, in order to be part of the we, that means that you have to show up for more than just the picture. I don't know if anybody just caught that, but you have to show up for more than just the picture, meaning you don't come to the event just to take the picture. You have to be there to really engage and connect and be involved. We are going to need everyone to jump in and make change and to get their hands dirty and start making things happen, picking up that trash, being there for that person, taking that time to mentor. We cannot do this alone. And I just love this whole podcast because it's really talking about how you really have built your career, your being around people and serving people and supporting communities and supporting the city. And that's what we want. We want people that are going to support the city, be in the city, be with the people, connect with the people. And it's just beautiful.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Creating community that works for community, not for someone else. Right?
Yes. Yes. If there was one last message that you want our listeners and viewers to hear today, what would you say to them? And leave us with a little inspiration.
Well, definitely go to electlindseyshaw.com.
That part.
Yes, that part. Gotta say it. But I just say, just keep dreaming and thinking about, I would love to challenge each one of us to think about not just us, not just my family, but how do we create a better world for maybe the families that don't have support? How do we think outside of our own box, out of our own yard, and think about maybe just like your block, You can just start with maybe just one neighbor, and then maybe it's the block. And then maybe next thing you know, it could be the neighborhood. And who knows, maybe you'll really like it. And it could be a district.
Wow.
A neighbor in our neighborhood, she does a cleanup every first Saturday. And she just posts it on telephone poles that she's doing cleanup. She's built this community, and she's just focuses on her, I don't know if it's a 9-block radius.
Yeah.
But she's found local partners to take the garbage, to take the recycling.
Wow.
And that whole area just looks a little bit, more sparkly. Just because she's taken ownership and invites others to come into that ownership with her.
Yeah.
And has created this community that's barrier free. And if we all did that, what would our city feel like, and what would it look like? And maybe you don't go to a whole district like I have.
Yeah.
Maybe you just focus on your area, but you just build really solid connections. So then your neighbors become your support.
Wow. Yes. I love that. And thank you for leaving that little bit of inspiration, a lot of inspiration. If people want to follow you, they want to connect with you, where can they go?
Well, I'm brand new to Twitter, but I would prefer you to come to maybe my Facebook, because I guess I'm an old lady.
Listen, I like Facebook.
Okay, good. Me too.
I love me some Facebook.
Me too. So Lindsey Shaw or elect Lindsey Shaw, either way, I'm always me. And follow me, send me an invite to a cleanup if you want to do it in your neighborhood, if you want to come down to the river, yes, absolutely. I would appreciate anybody reaching out and just being the part of the change you want to see.
Yeah.
And also, just one extra plug, if you're interested in learning more about how our city works and how neighborhoods work, Gonzaga has partnered with the city, and they've created a thing called Spokane Neighborhood Leadership Academy.
Wow.
Starts in January.
Okay.
1 class a month for 6 months. I think they compensate you with a little like Green's gift card or one to the co-op. So you get to learn about community, meet people who also care about community, and get compensated for your time.
There it is, y'all. Listen, I want to thank you for joining us for this podcast series. Lindsey, thank you for taking time out of your busy, crazy schedule to be here with me today. And y'all know, thank you for being here today. I am so glad that you are back here with us, listening, learning together, connecting together. I am so honored to be your host here at the Learning Project Network. And remember, community, children, families, that's what we stand on. So let's make change. Let's go.